Hey guys, as you can tell by the title of this video, today's video is going to be different than my normal videos. I have already shown my mom the footage, so I did get her permission to post this. I just kind of wanted to, I don't know, share, as I say in the video. Maybe this will help one person or some of you guys if you've gone through similar circumstances, just to know that you're not alone. Other people do go through this as well. It is a very sad time. It's, obviously not ideal, but there are trials in life, and this is just one of them that my family and I has to go through right now. I do still know that the Lord's in control, and I appreciate everyone's prayers, as there's already been a lot of people who have been praying for us, a lot of different churches as well. I just kind of wanted to make this little introduction because whenever I go into the video, as you will see in just a second, I basically just kind of start talking about the scenario because, as I mentioned, I didn't really know if I'd be posting this video or not. So that is what this little introduction is for. This is the first video that I've filmed since June 3rd, and today is June 12th. Also, my heart's beating really fast. I feel like because I'm about to dredge up a lot of feelings. I don't know if I'm going to post this or not, but I did want to film it just so I can kind of remember the events, I guess, because I feel like so much has happened in the past week that I would remember, that I would forget it. I might post this to help people or to help someone, or I might just have this for myself to kind of remember, I don't know, things that I went through. I guess I'm just going to start with lay out the events and the days and things that have happened. So as I mentioned, this is the first video that I filmed since June 3rd. That was last Monday. Today is Wednesday, June 12th. So last Monday, I remember I worked out in the morning. I also filmed a video, and then I cleaned an Airbnb. I have a part-time job of cleaning an Airbnb. So I had a really productive day, but then I remembered that my mom was gonna have an MRI, and I was like, oh yeah, let me ask her about that. Or I don't know if I remembered before she texted me, but regardless, she had an MRI on June 3rd. I'll try to kind of lay out the events, but I guess before that we need to get into the fact that she had leg pain. I think she said she's had leg pain for 3 months, but it was really bad. She's had, is it not chronological? It's chronic, yes. She's had chronic back pain for several years, but recently she got really bad leg pain that was different than any other leg pain. It made it really difficult for her to stand. I'm just obviously saying from her point of view, I haven't physically experienced this pain, but this is what she's experienced. So it was really bad, and it was hard for her to stand and walk for long periods of time. It was really bad. Also, my dad was out of the country because he was on a missions trip, and I'm just saying that for I guess full effect to kind of see all of the events that went down. I'm not slighting him he shouldn't have left the country, because if she told him that the pain was so bad that she didn't want him to go, he wouldn't have. So it's at no fault of it's no one's fault there. It's not my mom or my dad's fault. I'm just saying, I guess, for the span of events, words, it's really hard for me to think all of this, but I'm trying to remember everything. So my dad was out of the country because he was on a missions trip, and my mom had leg pain, but he knew that she was also going to, be going to a doctor to try to figure out what's wrong, if she has to do physical therapy or something like that. And like I said, if she had told him to not go, he would have just canceled his trip. So that's all said. So Monday, June 3rd, she had an MRI, and I remember I was cleaning, and she texted me that the doctor called and wants her to go in tomorrow to go just to discuss the results, which immediately that's not really the best, that's not really what you want to hear, because obviously if there's nothing wrong, they'll just get a call hey, you're all clear, I didn't see anything abnormal. So my dad and I both, she texted us both, and we both kind of thought this, maybe something, I feel we both thought this, I don't know, I'm saying I kind of thought this, maybe something is up. But obviously I'm not going to tell her that because she's kind of scared, and you need to be able to be a comfort for the other person. I remember I was just like, well, he just wants to discuss the treatment plans. Like, that's just going to be a lot over the phone. Like, it's not bad. He just wants to discuss the treatment plan. And I remember though, so the previous week also, she had a consult with he wasn't a neurosurgeon, he was a neuro doctor, he was a specialist, I think. But I went with her to that so she didn't have to go to it alone. Because as I mentioned, my dad was out of the country. And I remember that's when I think he was going to order the MRI or like, you know, sign off on it or something like that. That was the previous week. Okay, so that was whenever that got ordered. And I just remember there, she really didn't want to have back surgery, which obviously, you know, like that would be like, you know, you'd want to avoid that at all costs. And I was thinking, oh, like maybe you can just have physical therapy or something like that. Like no word. I mean, she was probably thinking this, but I wasn't, that it would be cancer. I thought it was really weird, and obviously something was wrong, but I honestly didn't really think that it would be cancer. Also, back in 2014, my mom had breast cancer, so she does have a history of cancer. I'm not saying that like lightly, I'm not even gonna go down that path, but we already have been down the path, I guess, before of her having cancer. So she did have breast cancer back in 2014. She, you know, that was a tough time, but things seemed to be okay. You know, she had like regular checkups with her cancer doctor, and she was staying up to date on her blood work. So that, like in my mind, it wasn't even a thought. But I remember on June 4th, I went with her to the consult, and she was saying like, if things look like they're gonna be bad, like please put your dad on speakerphone so that he can hear it, because he was out of the country, but my dad was aware of her appointment, and he was available for me to call him. Okay, I think the person's done mowing their yard. Also, I readjusted the camera just so it's not as high up. So as I was saying, my dad knew about the doctor's appointment. He said if it went bad or if there's bad news or something like that, to just call him and get him on speakerphone. At this point, also, I remember whenever we were in the waiting room, she was obviously very nervous, which made me nervous. She just said, I really hope it's not cancer. And that just got me immediately scared, kind of. So she was really nervous going into that appointment. Then the doctor came back and we looked and I just remember he kind of showed the difference between, you know, like was like, you know, this is something maybe here. And I remember I scooted up at this point and kind of looked at it. And then he started asking about her history of cancer. And at this point she said, can we pause and call my husband? So I called my dad, put him on speakerphone, and the doctor kind of explained to him as well. He didn't definitely say that it was cancer because that wasn't his specialty. He wasn't a cancer doctor, but basically he said that this looks like it could be cancer, and that he wanted to do an MRI with contrast because that's more specific, apparently. We got that ordered for the next day, but I'm getting ahead of myself. So my mom just kind of broke down and started crying, and I was just there for her. I didn't really cry much whenever he said that, I guess because it was a shock. Like, people handle things differently, but it was a shock because, like, I honestly, like, I knew that her leg pain was really bad, but I was just like, what is this? And I never really thought that it would be cancer. I remember thinking, I really don't want to go through this again. And it's just such a weird experience because it was literally like deja vu. I will never forget, that was on June 4th. Also, I remember that was the last time I saw my grandpa in person 3 years ago before he passed away, and I'm really close to my grandpa, so June 4th is not really a great day for me now. I don't know. I'm trying to remember things. Like, it's really hard. It's a lot. But my dad, like, immediately got a flight to come back, and he actually was back the next day, so that's good, that he was able to be back for that. But back to the initial thought, like, I was just so shocked, and I just had to be there for her because she was so shocked. Thankfully, I was there so I could drive her home, but I was just so focused on her because if I really let it sink in there, I would have passed it out, honestly. And I'm not, like, being dramatic or whatever because I've passed out before. It was just such a shock and, like, so much to take in, and especially because my father wasn't there. Like, I'm really close to both of my parents. It was just so much to take in. that I could have passed out, but I couldn't do that. I knew I couldn't do that because I had to be there for her, because this wasn't happening to me. I'm not belittling that. Like, yes, I can have feelings because obviously this does affect me a lot too, but it's not actually happening to me. It's actually happening to her. Her husband wasn't there, so I had to be a support system. So I just really focused on going down to the pharmacy, getting her prescription. I think she had a couple prescriptions filled, and just focused on basically like getting her to the car and getting her home. But the room was almost kind of spinning. I remember whenever I got home, I was texting my best friend. I think I just kind of like texted her a few things so she knew that it was bad basically. And I remember whenever I got home, I literally like sat on the couch for like an hour to an hour and a half because like I needed to like process it all, because like I said, like I could have passed out. I was so shocked because he didn't definitely say that it was cancer, but like in my mind, like that shock and stuff like that, to me, like I know he couldn't rule it out because it couldn't, you know, like he couldn't definitely say that, but in my mind, like, yes, it was cancer. Like, I know you're not definitely saying that, but that's the way that I took it. Yeah, that was a lot. That was honestly probably the worst day of my life so far. Like, it was really bad whenever my dad told me. I remember, I'll never forget, I was actually in this room where he sat me and my brother down and told us that our mom had breast cancer. But that was also 5 years ago, and I just don't remember this process being so drawn out, because I will still like tell you the sequence of events, but we're like over a week later and we still don't know what kind of cancer she has or what stage it is. And I just don't remember it being that long. Like, I know that it was serious, but this to me is like worse just because there's such like a prolonged period. Also, the way that we found out, my dad not being here, I'm not saying like I really do not want him to feel bad, because there's no sense in like wishing that you would have done things differently. There's no sense in dwelling on the past. But it was just, that was honestly the worst day of my life. It really was. I was so emotionally drained. I think whenever we got home, maybe like 3 p.m. or whatever, whenever we got home, but I remember I was just already so emotionally drained that like I could have gone to bed. I was so tired, and I was trying to be a support system for her. I think I had shed a few tears whenever we were waiting in the pharmacy, and I think I might have like shed a few tears sitting on the couch, but I hadn't really like cried at that point, because once again, I needed to be an emotional like support for my mother, because she's the person who's actually has this in her and has this cancer. So my dad's flight left at 11 p.m. that night, and then he arrived back, like his flight got back here, I think 2:15 p.m. So basically he flew overnight. But I was so tired and emotionally drained that I slept the entire night through. I think I slept maybe 9 hours, 8 or 9 hours, 7 to 9 hours. But regardless, that alone is like a really big feat, because just to show like how emotionally drained I was, because I literally never sleep the night through. Like, I cannot remember the last time I slept the night through. I just like sleep a few hours, wake up, sleep a few hours. That's just, you know, that's a whole other tangent. But I was so emotionally drained that I slept the whole night through. Thankfully she was able to get her MRI with contrast scheduled for the next day. So obviously I had to drive her, because I'm not gonna expect her to go by herself. I did drive her, and obviously like I had to wait in the waiting room by myself. That really was not fun. That was really, really horrible. Also during that time, my dad was on a flight, so I couldn't call him. I know that there's friends that I could have called to talk to someone, but I'm really close to my parents, as I mentioned. So basically the only people who can like truly calm me down is either my mom or my dad. I remember driving there. I haven't really spoken about anxiety, but I have had anxiety for years. But once again, like, I couldn't be focused on my problems because this was actually happening to her. I'm not belittling anxiety or any mental health. I think that that's a real thing, and I do want to talk about that eventually in a whole other video. So Wednesday morning, I remember driving her there. Like, my anxiety was so bad, I literally like was going through a panic attack just driving her there. And what made it even worse is that there's like, obviously my mom can't comfort me because my mom's probably really stressed out about this MRI. My dad can't comfort me because he's on a plane, and he can't talk on the plane, obviously. So Wednesday morning was horrible, absolutely horrible. My anxiety was just so bad, like literally had a panic attack almost, or did, or whatever, driving her there. The MRI actually didn't take as long as we thought it would, but it still, I think it took like 40 minutes. Just the whole process of like getting her checked in and talking to the woman and getting the actual MRI took about 40 minutes. So I was, you know, I could like text, I don't know, it's just, that was horrible. Then I drove her home, and we basically, all that I can remember is we kind of like waited. I think I edited a video because I knew my dad would be arriving soon. His plane would be arriving soon, and like I had to keep myself somewhat busy. I didn't really do a whole lot, but I think I did edit a video during that time. Then my dad finally arrived, and honestly things just got so much better after he arrived. Just like I felt like so much more calm because I knew he could be there for her, and like he could be there for me, but like he could be there for her. So that was just great. And then I remember like after I picked him up and stuff like that, like I just took a nap because once again I was so emotionally drained. Like I might have slept the night through, but also I've just like, this is so much to go through that I slept, I think for like over 2 hours, maybe hour and a half to 2 hours. But regardless, I slept, and they were going to call her back with like, I think like a preliminary result or something like that. So whenever I woke up, I remember I heard my mom was vacuuming, and I was like, oh, so she's vacuuming, so like things are fine, because I mean, surely you wouldn't be vacuuming if you had bad results, but I don't know. So that was just not necessarily the case. But whenever she told me that, I remember I wasn't really that shocked because like I said, I remember the previous day I had basically already like come to terms with my mom has cancer. So I remember she told me that, then we got ready, we went to church. So where I live, it's just me and my parents. My extended family actually lives in a different state. Like they're there for us, and I know they've been praying for us, and they're, you know, so that's great and stuff like that. But like I said, like it's only me and my parents here. So I'm actually really, really close to my church. We're literally like a family. I love them. So that was good to kind of go to church that night, but also I still hadn't cried about it. So I just felt like I kind of had to be like, oh yeah, everything's great, and like be smiling. Like I felt like people were watching me to see how I would react. I know that they mean well, but I remember like, I'm glad I was able to go to church, but I remember after that, like I needed to talk to someone. Obviously, I think my mom had another test the next morning. So they went to bed pretty early, and I just remember I needed to talk to someone. So I remember I went to my best friend's house. I love her. We've been friends for 17 years. Like she's, oh my goodness, I love her. And that was the first time like I really cried. And like, I don't know, like you process things differently. I really, like I needed to cry it out. And I just told her things that I've been thinking, like I really don't want to go through this again. I am a Christian, so I know like things are all up to the Lord, and like that's great that I can pray. And at this point, so many people have also prayed and mentioned to their churches, and that's great. But whenever you actually go through the trial, like it's a different thing, and that's just how I'm processing. So I remember I cried it out, and I don't really like crying in front of people, but she's literally like the sister that I never had, so it's different with her. I know I can basically tell her anything. Yeah, like she's seen many, like all sides of me. So I just don't really like crying in front of people because I kind of just want to be like left alone and just able to cry it out, and I was able to. So that was really helpful. And the next morning she had another test, and I can't remember what those results were because I mean like so much has gone on. That's why I wanted to go ahead and do this video. But she had another test Thursday morning. Then she had a PET scan. I can't remember if she had that test and the PET scan on Thursday, both on the same day. I think she had a PET scan on Friday. Also, at this point, we were already planning on going up and visiting my brother and sister-in-law because they live in a different state. And just before she had to start treatment, it would just be nice to see them. So we were planning on going up the weekend to visit them. So she had a test on Thursday, then she had a PET scan on Friday, and she didn't get any results for that. And also we were thinking like the weekend, but I remember she was saying like she thinks that she didn't get results because like it's so bad that a doctor doesn't want to have to deal with this. And I'm not outing her, I don't know, but like I'm just telling things as they are just because I want to remember everything, but also just so I don't know, you can see everything that we all went through. So whenever she's saying things like that, like obviously my anxiety is through the roof. Like my anxiety has been really bad lately. It's kind of okay today. But we went up and visited my brother and sister-in-law that weekend, and that was really good. It was great to see them. My dad and mom both hadn't been to their new house since they moved. They moved at the end of last year. We came back Sunday afternoon, so we were able to go to my church on Sunday night. And like I said, I know people mean well, but after the service, just a lot of people were asking her about it, and she was talking about it. And I realized, like, if that were me, like, I would need to talk it out too. But I had just heard it so much that, like, I had to, like, basically step away from the situation because I didn't want to talk about it anymore. I remember I went out to eat afterwards, and because I kind of just didn't want to, like, I don't know, not, like, I know, like, the situation obviously isn't going to go away if you don't talk about it, but I just couldn't, like, I needed a break. So that was Sunday night. Then Monday, I had to clean again because, like I said, I clean an Airbnb part-time. Also, in the meantime, like this past week and stuff, like I haven't really done much just because I've been processing so much, and I am thankful that I have a part-time job. I mean, I guess if I did still work in that retail position, you know, it would maybe get me through the time, but just because, like, I want to know results as soon as we get them. And also, I'm aware my neighbor's still doing yard work, but I just kind of want to go through this, so hopefully that's not too annoying. Monday, I had to clean again, and oh, also we got, like, an initial, like, they don't think that the cancer is in her soft tissue, which is really great. She is going to have an MRI just on her brain to solidify that, but we've heard from a couple different doctors that they don't think that it is in soft tissue, which is great because also obviously soft tissue would include the brain. That would be really bad. Okay, so Monday, she was admitted to the hospital because they had to do blood work, and also they were going to do a surgery the next morning. That's whenever they got the biopsy. They also removed some of the tumor to alleviate the pressure on her nerve, which has been what's been causing her pain. So she was admitted to the hospital Monday. Also, I remember driving to clean. I had a really, really bad anxiety. I called my best friend and I was able to talk things through. So Monday night, my friend and I just kind of like watched videos, and I just, you know, spent time with her. That was great because it was able to kind of like get my mind off of things. So we watched movies and YouTube, and then the next day, I remember we just like watched YouTube videos and stuff like that until like the afternoon. So that was good to just kind of keep my mind off of things. Also, I did visit my mom in the hospital Monday night, and then I visited the hospital on Tuesday afternoon after my friend left. So I really appreciate her spending time with me, so I was able to like pass the time. And then last night we saw a movie, so that was Tuesday night. So that brings us up to date to today, which is the 12th. She is being discharged. I just wanted to kind of like make a video just to remember these events. I don't think she still doesn't have a full report from her PET scan because I think they're waiting until they get the biopsy results, which hopefully we're gonna get to hear about the beginning of next week. But once again, I just kind of wanted to do this video to kind of remember things. And I will say my church family has been great. They've cooked food for us, and I know that they're all praying. Multiple churches are praying. So I do want to remember that, and it's just comforting to know that the Lord's in control. But whenever you're actually going through the trial, it is hard. But it's just great to know that we have a good church family down here, and that's kind of where I'm at right now. I just kind of wanted to also have a little like update, I guess, at the very end, because as you can tell, I'm filming this on a completely different day. This is actually a different week. Today is June 19th, just for point of reference. We just found out yesterday that it is breast cancer metastasis, which means that it is my understanding, I'm pretty sure this is accurate, this is the breast cancer cells, but they have metastasized, so they're the same cancer cells, but it's in a different part of her body because it's on her spine and kind of that area and on bone, from my understanding. Also, I believe my dad told me that since it is metastasis, that automatically makes it a stage 4, which I really don't like the sound of that, obviously, but my mom is a tough person and I know she's gonna fight. Also, I know that a lot of people have been praying, as I've already mentioned, but I just kind of did want to give you a little bit of an update at where we are. She's going to be starting treatment here soon. Would appreciate your prayers as well, especially for her and my family at this time, as this is a very hard time. So that is that update, and it's kind of where I'm gonna end this video.